Deep beneath St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, behind iron gates that have not been opened in decades, lies a vault. Not a vault of gold or jewels. A vault of secrets. Centuries of royal documents, decrees, and instructions, some so sensitive that they were never meant to see the light of day. In the spring of 2026, Prince William's legal team accessed that vault. They had permission. They had authority. They had a mission. What they found inside would change everything. A document from 1953, authored by Queen Mary, the consort of King George V, the matriarch of the modern monarchy, a decree so explicit, so ironclad, that it threatened to strip Queen Camilla of privileges she had spent decades fighting to secure. But that wasn't all. The lawyers also uncovered a sealed clause in Princess Diana's will, a handwritten provision that Diana herself had scrawled in underlined ink years before her death, a provision that explicitly barred one person from accessing Diana's jewelry, her trusts, her ceremonial honors. That person was Camilla Parker Bowles. For years, Camilla had tried to hide these documents. For years, she had relied on the palace's control over sealed archives to keep them buried. For years, she had assumed that no one would ever find them. She was wrong. Prince William's lawyers had confirmed what Camilla tried to hide, and now the royal family is stunned. King Charles is blindsided. Queen Camilla is facing the most devastating legal threat of her life, and the future of the monarchy hangs in the balance. To understand what has just happened, you have to understand the relationship between Prince William and Queen Camilla. It has never been easy. In fact, it has been, by all accounts, a relationship built on tolerance rather than affection. Prince William was just 15 years old when his parents' marriage finally collapsed. He was a teenager navigating the brutal divorce of the most famous couple in the world. We learned his father had been in love with another woman for his entire marriage. That woman was Camilla Parker Bowles. William and his brother Harry were caught in the crossfire. They watched their mother suffer. They watched their father prioritize another woman. They watched the palace gaslight Diana and try to paint her as unstable. And then, in 1997, they watched their mother die. When Camilla finally entered the royal fold officially, the wounds were still raw. William and Harry were forced to accept her presence. They were told to smile, to be polite, to pretend that the past didn't matter. But the past does matter. And William has never forgotten. In 2025, William made a move that sent shockwaves through the palace. He cut ties with a legal firm that had represented the royal family for decades, Harbottle and Lewis, the firm that had defended King Charles, Queen Camilla, and even the late Queen Elizabeth herself. Instead, William hired Mishkinder Rea, the same firm that had represented his mother, Princess Diana, during her brutal divorce from Charles in 1996. The symbolism was impossible to ignore. William was not just hiring new lawyers. He was sending a message. He was declaring his independence. He was aligning himself with his mother's legacy, not his father's. He wanted to do things differently than his father, a palace source told the press. He wanted to be seen as his own man. Camilla was reportedly furious. She couldn't change William's decision, but she could see the writing on the wall. The heir to the throne was building his own legal arsenal, and he was doing it with the lawyers who had helped his mother take on the monarchy. Then came the audits, the state reviews, the legal deep dives, and then the discovery. In early 2026, Prince William's legal team requested access to sealed archives tied to Queen Elizabeth II's private estates. They were given permission. The archives were deep within the royal vault beneath St. George's Chapel, Windsor, a repository of centuries of royal secrets, decrees, and instructions. What they found stunned everyone. The first discovery, Queen Mary's decree. Buried among the documents was a long-forgotten decree from 1953, authored by Queen Mary, the formidable consort of King George V, the grandmother of Queen Elizabeth II. The document was marked Succession Safeguard Protocol. The decree laid out ironclad limits on non-blood consorts. It explicitly barred spouses who were not of royal blood from inheriting administrative control over crown properties or influencing wills after the monarch's death. The document echoed George Vieira's paranoia about American divorcees destabilizing the throne, but its language was broad enough to apply to anyone who married into the family. It demanded blood primacy for Wales line heirs, voiding any consort-led alterations to royal assets. In other words, Queen Mary had anticipated the possibility that a future king might marry someone who was not of royal blood, and she had taken steps to ensure that person would never have real power. The decree directly threatened Camilla's position. It stripped non-blood consorts of key privileges. It limited their ability to control crown properties. It prevented them from influencing wills. For Camilla, this was a nightmare. For William, it was vindication. The second discovery, Diana's will. But the vault held another secret, an even more personal one. Deep within sealed legal archives, William's lawyers uncovered a clause in Princess Diana's 1997 that had never been made public. It was a handwritten provision, Diana's own words, scrawled in underlined ink, and it explicitly barred one person from accessing Diana's sapphire jewelry sets, trusts, or ceremonial honors. That person was Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana had written, "Under no circumstance shall Camilla benefit from what was mine." Her mistrust of Charles and his mistress was etched into her final legal instructions. She wanted to protect her sons from betrayal, even from beyond the grave. The clause was set to activate after both of Diana's sons turned 30. That moment had now passed. William, inheriting control, mobilized his lawyers to enforce it. Camilla had reportedly been furious when she learned of the clause. She had tried to have it suppressed. She had tried to keep it buried. But William's lawyers had confirmed its validity. The discovery left King Charles reeling. He had no choice but to admit the validity of his late ex-wife's wishes. In a humiliating concession, he reportedly demoted Camilla's official references back to Duchess of Cornwall in certain contexts. For years, Camilla had worked tirelessly to rehabilitate her image. She had transformed herself from the most vilified woman in Britain into the queen consort. She had smiled through the insults. She had endured the comparisons to Diana. She had built a reputation as a steady, supportive presence beside the king. But behind the scenes, she had been quietly trying to secure her position, to ensure that when Charles was gone, she would not be cast aside. She had reportedly been lobbying to gain control over key assets. She had been petitioning lawyers to contest legal arrangements that limited her influence. She had been trying to hide the documents that threatened her future. And now, all of that had been exposed. The palace had paid millions over the years to suppress certain truths about Camilla. They had worked tirelessly to control the narrative. They had kept sealed archives closed. They had hoped that time would heal the wounds and that the public would forget. But William had not forgotten, and neither had his lawyers. The revelations confirmed what many had long suspected, that Camilla's position was far more fragile than it appeared, that the legal framework of the monarchy did not protect her the way she had assumed, that the documents buried in the vault could undo decades of careful image management. Think about what these discoveries must have felt like for the people involved. For Prince William, this was a moment of profound validation. He had spent his entire life watching his mother suffer. He had watched the palace gaslight her. He had watched his father prioritize another woman. He had watched the institution try to erase Diana's memory. And now, finally, the legal system had confirmed what he had always known, that Diana's wishes mattered, that her legacy was protected, that Camilla could not simply rewrite history to suit herself. For King Charles, the revelations were devastating. He had spent years trying to build a unified family. He had worked to integrate Camilla into the royal fold. He had hoped that the past could be left behind. But the past cannot be left behind when it is written into legal documents. The past cannot be ignored when it is buried in vaults beneath Windsor Castle. For Camilla, the emotional toll must have been immense. She had finally achieved the ultimate goal. Queen consort, sitting beside the king, respected by the public. And now, in a matter of weeks, everything she had built was under threat. The documents in the vault did not just challenge her legal position. They challenged her legitimacy. They reminded the world that she was never supposed to be queen, that Diana had explicitly barred her from benefiting from her legacy, that Queen Mary had anticipated and limited the power of non-blood consorts. It was, in every sense, a reckoning. When the news broke, the public reaction was swift and brutal. Headlines across Britain screamed the story. William's lawyers confirm what Camilla tried to hide, and Queen Mary's decree threatens Camilla's future. The tabloids had a field day. Social media exploded. Hashtags like hashtag Team William and hashtag Diana's Legacy trended for days. Royal commentators lined up to offer their analysis. Some pointed to the historical significance of Queen Mary's decree. Others focused on Diana's will and the emotional weight of her handwritten instructions. But the most striking reaction came from within the palace itself. Princess N, who had long kept her distance from Camilla, reportedly watched the developments with quiet satisfaction. She had predicted years ago that Camilla would never be a true queen. Now, her prediction was being vindicated by legal documents. Prince Harry, from his home in California, reportedly expressed support for his brother's actions. The two brothers, who had been estranged for years, found common ground in the defense of their mother's legacy. And the public? The public was riveted. This was not just another royal scandal. This was not about sex or money or celebrity gossip. This was about something more fundamental: justice, respect, the rule of law, a mother's final wishes finally being honored, a brother's loyalty finally being rewarded, a queen consort's ambitions finally being checked. But this story is about more than legal documents and family feuds. It is about the future of the monarchy itself. The British monarchy has survived for over 1,000 years by adapting, by changing, by evolving, but it has also survived by maintaining the illusion of continuity. The idea that the crown is above petty squabbles, that the family is united, that tradition is sacred. William's legal victories have shattered that illusion. First, the hiring of Mishkin de Rea. William cut ties with the firm that had represented the royal family for decades. He chose the lawyers who had represented his mother against his father. It was a declaration of independence, a signal that he would not be controlled by the palace establishment. Second, the discovery of Queen Mary's decree. The 1953 document explicitly limited the power of non-blood consorts. It was written decades before Camilla was even born. It was a reminder that the monarchy is not just a family. It is a legal entity, bound by documents, by contracts, by laws that even the king cannot ignore. Third, the confirmation of Diana's will. The handwritten clause barring Camilla from benefiting from Diana's legacy was a reminder that Diana's voice still matters, that her wishes still carry weight, that even from beyond the grave, she is protecting her sons. These three elements together represent a seismic shift in the balance of power within the royal family. William is no longer just the heir. He is a force in his own right. He has his own legal team. He has his own agenda. He has the documents to back him up. And Camilla? Camilla is more vulnerable than ever. It is impossible to tell this story without addressing the impact on Camilla personally and politically. For decades, Camilla has worked to transform her image. She has supported charities. She has carried out engagements. She has presented herself as a devoted, dutiful queen consort. She has done everything the monarchy has asked of her. But the documents in the vault reveal a different story. They reveal a woman who has been trying to secure her position, sometimes in ways that were not entirely above board. Reports have emerged that Camilla had been quietly petitioning lawyers to contest legal arrangements that limited her influence. She had been lobbying to gain control over key assets. She had been trying to hide the documents that threatened her future. And now, all of that has been exposed. The public reaction has been merciless. Social media users have pointed out the irony. Camilla, the woman who broke up a marriage, is now being exposed as someone who tried to break the law. Camilla, the woman who manipulated her way to the throne, is now being held accountable by legal documents. It is not a fair comparison, perhaps, but it is how the public sees it. And for Charles, the pressure is immense. He loves Camilla. He has spent his entire life trying to make her happy. He has sacrificed his marriage, his reputation, his relationship with his sons, all for her. But now, he faces an impossible choice: defy his grandmother's decree and his ex-wife's will, or alienate his son and heir. The whispers of title reviews are already gaining traction. Some insiders suggest that Camilla's official references may be downgraded. Others predict that she will be stripped of certain privileges entirely. One thing is certain: The queen consort is under siege, and the person leading the charge is the future king. Prince William has always been the diplomat, the one who keeps his head down, his emotions in check, his resentment buried beneath layers of royal composure. But the man who hired Mishkin de Rea is not a diplomat. The man who sent his lawyers into the royal vault is not a diplomat. The man who confirmed what Camilla tried to hide is not a diplomat. He is a son who has finally had enough. For years, William has watched Camilla consolidate power. He has watched her influence his father. He has watched her push aside his mother's memory. He has watched her try to control the narrative. And all the while, he has been building his own power base, his own legal team, his own agenda, his own future. The documents in the vault are not just legal victories. They are personal victories. They are William's way of saying, I remember, I have not forgotten, and I will not allow you to rewrite history. William reportedly views the discoveries as divine vindication. He is consolidating assets and accelerating purges of Camilla's family perks. Camilla, meanwhile, is reportedly begging Charles to guarantee her position before he dies, and William has refused every request. The future king is not just preparing to inherit the throne, he is preparing to reshape it, and he is making it clear that Camilla will not have a place in his new order. In the end, what Prince William's lawyers confirmed was not just a legal fact, it was a reckoning for a queen consort who tried to hide too much, a reckoning for a king who assumed too much, a reckoning for a family that pretended too much. Queen Mary's decree from 1953 was clear. Non-blood consorts were never meant to have real power. Diana's will from 1997 was clear. Camilla was never meant to benefit from her legacy. And now, those documents have been unearthed, confirmed, enforced. The monarchy will never be the same. The illusion of unity is gone. The king's authority has been challenged. The queen consort's influence has been exposed. And the public has seen in stark detail the fractures beneath the gilded surface. Camilla may be queen consort. She may sit on the throne beside Charles. She may have the titles, the jewels, the respectability that comes with decades of careful image management. But she will never have the full acceptance of the family. She will never escape the shadow of Diana. And she will never, ever escape the legal documents that now define her place in history. Prince William's lawyers have confirmed what Camilla tried to hide for years. And the truth changes everything.